February in Catania, Sicily, there is a festival to honor Saint Agatha. Saint Agatha. Agatha is patron saint of rape victims and breast cancer patients. She's a patron of bakers, bell founders, and wet nurses, too. In Sicily, Agatha gets a 3-day festival to commemorate her life. There, they serve magnificent street food, including little dome-shaped cakes with a strategically placed cherry on top called Minne di Sant'Agata. Little Breasts of Saint Agatha, or, as I like to call them, Titty Cakes. I actually did some research here. Research is kind of my thing. Turns out we find hard consonants way funnier than other sounds, which makes total sense when you think of all the best swear words in the English language. By that logic, tits is way funnier than boobies, knockers, jugs, cans, melons, gazongas. No, tits. Titty Cakes. Warning! This show contains nuts. Tree nuts, that is, almonds and pistachios. There's a sugar warning, too, granulated and icing, and gluten in our flour, of course, and I'm quite confident this is the world's only cooking show with a trigger warning. Many! All the trigger warnings! Leave while you still can. It also contains ricotta cheese, oranges and lemons, unsalted butter, very cold, salt, eggs, vanilla, almond extract, chocolate chips, and cherry nips. Fun fact, I'm mildly allergic to all of the ingredients in these cakes. Worry not, they're the kind of allergies that require a toilet, not a hospital. These ingredients will be used to make the many components of our titty cakes. Italian sponge cake, cannoli cream, Italian short pastry, pistachio marzipan, cherry nips, and lemon royal icing. Minne di Sant'Agata are traditionally served in pairs. A pair of tits. So without further ado, let's get to it! First, we'll drain our ricotta cheese. Place your fine mesh strainer above your bowl and put a couple layers of cheesecloth inside. Then, you'll scoop your ricotta into the cheesecloth, smooth it out, gently press, fold the cheesecloth over, give it a squeeze, and tie the cheesecloth off. Set in the fridge for a minimum of 4 hours, but overnight if you can. It takes a while to drain all that liquid from the cheese. Release takes time. Why these cakes, you ask? They're complicated and so obscure. I couldn't even find a coherent English language recipe. These are deep Sicilian cakes. Even in Sicily, they're specific to the region of Catania. There, every family keeps a different version of this folk recipe. The two main versions that I came across use either Italian short pastry or pistachio marzipan to go between the cannoli cream and the icing, but since I'm gonna make the best goddamn titty cakes the world's ever seen before, I'm using both. I've never half-assed anything in my life. You can probably already tell by looking at me or by reading my very Irish-sounding name, I am not Italian. Never been. Not a Catholic either. Not even religious. I'm not even a very good baker. Certainly not advanced enough to tackle this ambitious 3-day ordeal of a recipe. Regardless, I'm gonna bake and eat me some titty cakes with you beautiful humans because I just loves me a good ritual. You see, in my youth, I went through a bataille phase, as every young girl does. Admittedly oversimplified, bataille postulated that religious sacrifice is the effective foundation of community. Communion. The sacrificed, once consumed, becomes sacred. It bears repeating. I am not religious. I'm not even baptized. I'm a proper heathen, but old Bataille piqued my interest in the ecstatic, the profane. He said the potential for ecstasy justifies embarking on an agonizing experience. So let's make some Italian dough, why don't we? First, we'll sift together our dry ingredients. Flour, sugar, and salt. There's not much information about Saint Agatha. All that's left of her is a story written by monks. They highlight her Christian beliefs in chastity. Agatha was young, highborn, a great beauty. The Roman consul of Sicily was Quintianus, base-born, libidinous, a worshipper of idols, and he wanted Agatha to be his wife. She refused him. Quintianus took vengeance. He used his legal and imperial authority as consul to persecute Agatha as a Christian. He first imprisoned her to a brothel for 30 days. We don't have much salacious gossip about what happened to her there, but seeing as she's the patron saint of rape victims, I think we can guess. Next, we'll take our cold butter from the fridge and cut it into cubes. Agatha's is not your average Christian persecution. It's not about religion, it's about personal vendetta. This is the story of a rejected man destroying a young woman because he could. You might say Quintianus was an incel. Certainly fits the profile. Incels, or involuntary celibates as they call themselves, aren't looking for sex. They're looking for supremacy. Male supremacy, though many of them just so happen to be white supremacists too. They believe they are entitled to sex with beautiful young women. Why do I speak with such authority about incels, you ask? Because I intimately know the destruction they cause. I certainly wasn't wealthy or highborn like Agatha. I was just a small town girl, a working class girl, a good girl. But my teachers wrote me off, unlike the rich kids, and my parents were from Toronto, so we were outsiders. I'll show you. I'll be exceptional. I was an award-winning, bona fide genius at the top of every class. By age 12, I'd already gotten my first job at the local museum. By 14, I had saved $10,000 by taking a second after-school job at the local jewelry store. I've never half-assed anything in my life. I was on the honor roll, student council, winner of countless awards. I won second place in the All-Ontario Public Speaking Competition 1997. Second place. I was a high achiever. I had to be, had to excel, to distinguish myself, to defy my teachers' expectations. And I didn't want to ask my parents for the name brand shoes or clothes or whatever other status symbol was required for me to fit in. My parents worked so hard to make sure my brothers and I never went without. And long before I learned about Marx, commodity fetishism, false consciousness, I knew that shoes were shoes. Try telling that to the kids at recess. So I got my own jobs. I bought my own stuff. I got the best grades. I won all the awards. I Oh. Next, we'll add our cool cube butter to the flour mixture by rubbing it in our hands, a technique known as sanding, producing a crumbly oatmeal textured dough. I caught the theater bug as an embryo. My parents were involved in a production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yes, my mom was Nurse Ratched and my dear old dad was McMurphy. In grade 9, I auditioned for the school production of Stephen Sondheim's hit musical Into the Woods. I was cast as Little Red Riding Hood. My songs got applause every night, but what I loved most were all the laughs I got. My comedic timing was on point. On closing night, I got a massive bouquet of roses from a secret admirer. It was the talk of the school, the entire town. And it made me very uncomfortable. You know, I can't even think of anyone I hoped they were from. Didn't even have a crush at the time. I was a kid. All I could think was, hey, I just gave the performance of my lifetime and all anyone can talk about are these stupid flowers? Well, about a month and so many flower deliveries later, my secret admirer was finally revealed. He was a big kid, a grade 13. We'd been in the play together. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I told him, I can give you my friendship, and that is all. When your Italian dough is mixed, it should look right crumbled. Now we'll take a separated egg yolk and some vanilla, and we'll make a little egg well. A little ditch. A little liminal space of in-betweenness for our egg yolk and vanilla to pool in. Use your hands to mix it in. Don't over-knead it. That stresses the gluten and causes it to shrink back into itself. You want to keep the gluten relaxed. Form it into a ball. Cover it and chill it in the fridge overnight. Chilling the dough is necessary to keep it tender. Not tough. I didn't want to humiliate him. Maybe I was wrong to do that. Maybe I should have told him to go fuck himself, but I was just trying to be nice. Thought I had to be nice. Sugar and spice, right? That's what little girls are made of. And at 14 years old, I was very much just a little girl. A little girl pursued by a 19-year-old man who weaponized my niceness. But he's a nice guy, everyone would say. He really likes you. You two would just be so cute together. But no matter how many times I bargained, begged for him to accept my friendship, it wasn't enough. Not for him, not for any of my peers, not even for my favorite teacher. He's a nice guy. But all they saw were his frequent and very public romantic gestures. They didn't see him showing up everywhere. My class, my lockers, my jobs, my house, my doctor's office. They didn't hear his constant threats of suicide. I can't go on without you. I don't want to live in a world where I can't have you. You'll be fucking sorry when I'm dead. They didn't hear his veiled threats of violence against me and my family. I can't have you, no one will. Stop using your mommy and little brothers to lie to me. What am I gonna have to do to make you answer the phone yourself? Caller ID would have come in real handy. I suppose it started out harmless enough, all those sickly sweet smelling roses, but after a whole year of this, my life was pure terror. I had grown accustomed to listening for the sound of his car engine on the street as I ran through my neighbors' backyards. He was watching me. And the phone just kept ringing. You're not doing your homework. You're watching The Simpsons in your living room. One night, when he had me on the phone, he slit his wrists. He told me what he was doing. I tricked him into telling me his location. The cemetery. I lived beside the cemetery. I called an ambulance. Saved his life. Turns out he'd set up camp in the cemetery beside my house. Turns out he'd been creeping in when no one was home and helping himself to objects from my room. They found a sick little shrine to me in the aftermath. So, despite all that, the ambulance, the niceness, everything, everyone, even my favorite teacher, blamed me. Nice girls don't drive nice guys to suicide. I don't know how many men would have gone in and out of a Roman brothel in those days, but I'm guessing it was quite a few. But Agatha, she remained committed to her beliefs. After 30 days, Aphrodisia, the brothel keeper, returned Agatha to Quintianus. The girl remains firm in her beliefs. It would be easier to split rocks or reduce iron to the softness of lead than to move that girl's mind from its Christian intention. Can you imagine having that kind of fortitude, that belief in your own self and your own integrity? I took all that high-achieving energy I had previously applied to being perfect, to being nice, and I turned it inwards towards my own destruction. I started dating the biggest drug dealer in school, hanging with the rough and tough kids, drinking, smoking, skipping school, having sex, using hard drugs. Next, the pan di spagna. Pan di spagna is a traditional Italian sponge cake flavored with vanilla, mainly to mask the distinct eggy flavor it takes on account that it's made with only 3 ingredients: flour, sugar, and eggs. First, more eggs! We'll beat the sugar into the eggs for no less than 10 to 15 minutes. It's during this crucial stage that the air is incorporated. The eggs should turn a pale yellow color and triple in volume, but don't overbeat it. You don't want to deflate the mixture. You're looking to stop when you've reached the ribbon stage. How do you know when you've reached the ribbon stage, you ask? Well, you simply lift your whisk from the bowl and make a figure 8. If the batter holds its shape for at least 10 seconds, you've reached the ribbon stage. Looks like we'll have to keep beating. This is awkward. I know what you're thinking. I can feel it. You saw the poster for the show and you're like, what about the titty stuff? You figured me out. I have no tits. I literally have no tits. That's not hyperbole. I'm using that word in the proper sense, not that Kardashian way. Like the other day, I saw this photo of Kendall Jenner and she was wearing this t-shirt that said, I have no tits. I was like, bitch, please. I literally have no tits. Yep, I had the cancer. Those fuckers had to go. But I don't understand why some people get all twisted about it. Like, some women have breasts, some don't. Some men have breasts, some don't. Some women have uteruses and ovaries, some don't. Some women have penises, some don't. I reject the notion that I must change my body to make others comfortable. Well, some people will say, fuck those titties, they were trying to kill you. It's like, hey, whoa. It's an honest mistake. Like, that's not how it happened. It's not like my tits got together and planned some coup d'etat. We should overthrow this bitch. Yeah, let's fucking kill her. Feeling weird though. When you get the breast cancer, right away, happens 100% of the time. They don't even mean to do it, but when you tell people you've been diagnosed with breast cancer, their eyes just automatically dart down, stare at your chest, which, so, let's get this over with. Go ahead, nothing to see here. Come on. Quit staring at my tits! My eyes are up here. Thank you, my eyes are up here. When you've reached the ribbon stage, your batter should look like this. Produces new bowl of ribbon stage batter. Next, the flour. We'll slowly sift our flour into the egg mixture in small increments, about 1/3 at a time. But be sure not to put all the flour in at once. It'll sink right to the bottom of the bowl, like snow to a ditch. Have you ever seen a snow out of season? The odd April snow is not at all uncommon here in Canada, but even in the land between, a May snowfall can feel uncanny, familiar yet foreign. Unnatural in the Shakespearean sense. Tragically Greek. Young Persephone, kidnapped, imprisoned, wed by her uncle Hades. Using a wooden spoon, we'll gently fold the flour in from the bottom of the bowl, but you have to fold it really gently, being very careful. You don't want to deflate the batter. I have no memory of one of the most significant events of my life. I was drunk and on drugs. All I have is the aftermath, and even that's a blur. All I have are secondary sources, hearsay accounts, and the story of my body. May 24 came early that year. trees were budding, the flowers were blooming, the birds were singing. Spring fever was upon us. And we were ready to party in a field in Cajun. Woo! The first field party of the season is a rural rite of spring. I had a pack of Players Light and a bottle of Gibson Silver, ready to go. Teenagers were coming from all over, from my high school, from both the Lindsay high schools, the Peterborough high schools. There were even some kids coming from that fancy private school in Lakefield. It was gonna be wicked! Woo! I'm just thankful camera phones hadn't been invented yet. Last memory. White Ford Taurus. Blood red fake velvet seats. White plastic cup. Private school guy. Drink this. You'll love it. Smiles. Pearly, white teeth. Me. Last seen at a picnic table. I gotta piss. Famous. Last words. Wake up on the couch. Oh, fuck. How did I get here? Hungover. Hurting. Mom, mad. Yelling about last night. What happened? Field party. How did I get home? Huh. Morning piss. Stinging. Blood. Am I? Never mind. Girlfriends arrive, solemn, sad. Nobody's laughing at my jokes. Something's wrong. They tell me something happened. Tell me I was found naked, found bleeding, found in a ditch, found my clothes up the road, tattered, sole torn from my shoe. Mom crying, didn't know. Nobody told her. She put me in the shower. Sarah, they cry. We think you were raped last night. And I am floating out of my body. I'd been raped. Savagely and repeatedly by a group of young men. who left me unconscious for dead. In a ditch. Snow falling on my naked body. Shivering saved my life. I was found by 3 older girls, big kids. Three women, 3 weird sisters, three sirens, 3. Magical thinking is a sign of insanity. Or so said my former therapist. The 3 girls saw movement. They heard rustling in the brush. They thought I was an animal. When they went to investigate, they found me. Naked, bleeding, covered in snow. Half frozen, half dead. Now that our flour is incorporated, we'll gently pour our batter into our prepared sheet pan. Resist the urge to smooth it on the top or bang the pan on the counter. Just leave it as it is. Bake at 350 degrees or for 18 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. But remember, do not open the oven door or your pan, the spagna, will collapse. I am suddenly wrenched back out of my body by the blood-curdling sound of my screams. I'm in the hospital waiting room. The second hospital of the day. There was no rape clinic at the first. Dissociation involves disruptions to normally integrated functions of consciousness, perception, memory, identity, affect. My hysteric wailing, rhythmic as the ancient Irish funeral keeners, snaps me out of my daze and back into my reality. I am in my body. I feel it. Sentito ergo sum. Dissociation has been defined as disruptions to normally integrated functions of consciousness, perception, memory, identity, affect, motor control. I'm not screaming. It's the woman seated across from me. She is very pregnant, and judging by the amount of blood pooling onto her seat, dripping onto the hospital floor, she's miscarrying. She cries, wails, screams. Her screams give voice to mine, my silent inner screams, the screams I don't dare utter aloud. Nobody wants to hear my screams. I did this to myself. This is all my fault. Dissociation, an adaptive defense mechanism to cope with overwhelming threat that cannot be prevented or escaped. An inner distance, a dampening of overwhelming emotions, a reduction of conscious awareness. There we were, the miscarrying lady and me, both of us bleeding from our genitals onto the waiting room chairs, she much more than I, both of us screaming, she much louder than I, both of us blaming ourselves. Dissociation. It's an unreal film-like scene. It's not happening to me. I'm watching from a distance. There's no pain. I'm numb. And I am floating out of my body. When the nurse finally called her from the waiting room, her blood-stained chair remained. Nobody bothered to take it away. And as I sat there staring at the still warm pool of blood, I left my body once more. Some animals freeze when threatened. In situations that cannot be controlled or escaped, they engage in a passive defense mode. Shutting down in the face of inescapable threat may enhance survival when the chances of winning a fight are low or impossible. Marzipan! 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 To make our pistachio marzipan, we must first grind our nuts. You can use a food processor or even just buy store-bought marzipan, but if you do, your marzipan won't be green. I've never half-assed anything in my life. Don't forget to break up the icing sugar, making sure to break up any lumps. Then we'll make a little egg well, a little ditch. A little liminal space of in-betweenness to toss our leftover egg white and almond extract into. Use your hands to mix it in. We'll knead the marzipan and form it into a ball. The body remembers. My body revealed what my brain could not, what remained. The story of my body inscribed on my skin, archived in flesh. My body was covered in finger-shaped bruises. I wore a purple necklace, rouged face and eyeballs. The doctors and nurses documented my injuries. Abrasions, contusions, lacerations, head trauma, hematomas, the violence. Of all the injuries I sustained, and there were many, the ones I think about the most are the ones that hurt the least. The abrasions on the tops of my feet and ankles, on my knees, my hip bones, my ribs, breasts, and face. The abrasions that so clearly tell the story of how. Is that how they got me to the ditch? By dragging me naked on my stomach? On that cold gravel road? I get flashes, visions, but I'm never certain if what I'm experiencing are actual memories or sick fantasies born from the deep desire to remember. Agatha was the perfect victim. Each time Quintianus proposed to her, She refused him, and each time she did, the tortures he visited upon her became more and more horrific. When she was stretched on the rack, Agatha merely encouraged her torturers. The wheat cannot be stored in the barn unless it has been thoroughly threshed and separated from the chaff. And so my soul cannot enter paradise unless you make the headsman give it harsh treatment. Agatha was the perfect victim. She was wonderful. Rich girl, virgin, picture of asceticism. I was not. I wasn't rich, I wasn't a virgin, and I was drunk and on drugs. Cover the marzipan and set it in the fridge overnight. And don't forget to tidy your workstation. I became an urban legend. The cautionary tale we tell our daughters. The legend that leads girls to pee in pairs. Everybody had their hot take. It was the talk of the town, all the small towns. There were over 300 teenagers at that party, and hundreds of them were interviewed by the police. All 5 of my assailants were said to be private school kids. In that respect, I suppose we were the inverse of Quintianus and Agatha. Rumor has it, one of them was even said to be the son or nephew of a cop. So, despite all that, despite all the witness testimonies, the corroborative evidence, the violence, the story of my body inscribed on my skin, archived in flesh, charges were never laid. PTSD! Post-traumatic stress disorder! Flashbacks, intrusive thoughts, nightmares, hyperarousal, insomnia, agitation, irritability, impulsivity, anger, numbing, avoidance, withdrawal, confusion, dissociation, derealization, depression. Many weeks and many hospital visits after my assault, a young doctor had the good sense to give me a pregnancy test. It was positive. At 17 years old, I was carrying the spawn of one of my 5 rapists. It was the ultimate abjection. I couldn't shake the feeling that that child inside of me was pure evil, just like his father. At first, I had only one option: surgical abortion. But the young doctor advocated for an exception to be made. It was quite controversial. I was one of the very few Canadians permitted to a medical abortion in 2002. A shot, followed by a course of pills. Cramping, pain, so much blood. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, develops in response to exposure to a series of traumatic events. When traumatic exposure is prolonged or repetitive, the individual perceives little to no chance of escape. I chased my family's medicine cabinet with a bottle of vodka. I genuinely thought I was doing them a favor. That they would be relieved when I was gone. Surely, being related to the dead girl was an improvement from the girl who was raped. It was certainly better than being related to that lying slut. I desperately wished that nobody knew about my rape, that I could pretend it never happened, keep it secret, make it go away. But I was held hostage, tethered by the townsfolk's tongues, forced to relive that event with every whisper, every stare. My story followed me everywhere. I decided to end the story. Sirens, tubes, vomit, taste of chalky black substance, beeping scent of antiseptic, mom crying. Promise me, Sarah. The investigation was closed. PTSD! Women with post-traumatic stress disorder are 7 times more likely than other women to die by suicide. Gender differences may be influenced by social stigma surrounding sexual assault, a common cause of PTSD in women. Spiraling in a loop of wanton self-destruction, I lived my life like a slow suicide, dangerously dancing with death, taunting it, inviting it, reckless in every way imaginable. Drug addictions, alcohol addiction, promiscuity, overeating, undereating, compulsive spending, thrill-seeking behavior, self-sabotage. I punished myself. Constantly. Creatively. Anniversaries of the rape were particularly masochistic. Every May 10th, I would consume the same brand of whiskey I had that fateful night. Gibson Silver. Alone. Until I was sick, until I forgot how much I hated myself. A strange, drunken ritual akin to self-flagellation. The links between PTSD and self-destructive behavior are well established. Oftentimes, these occur as manifestations of unhealthy coping mechanisms. PTSD frequently causes intense and disturbing emotional reactions. Those living with PTSD may engage in self-destructive behaviors to numb or distract from negative emotions. Ricotta! 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 Ricotta, ricotta, ricotta! Ricotta! Let's check on our ricotta cheese. Wow, sure has drained a lot of liquid. What a release. Titty Cakes are made with a classic cannoli cream. To make ours, we'll first press the ricotta through our fine mesh strainer, making it nice and smooth for our cannoli cream. Then, we'll add our orange zest and chocolate chips and gently mix. Our cannoli cream is looking great. Let's get it setting in the fridge. Slowly, I rebuilt myself, my life, after my assault. My mom got me into a new school, in a new town. Even though I was still known as the girl who was raped, I got all my credits that semester. I went back to my old school. I graduated, I got into university. I moved to a new town, got a new place with my new boyfriend. I quit hard drugs. I was doing really well considering. I was broken-mended. I felt like I had finally found my happily ever after. The dough. Let's get our Italian dough, roll it out flat. We'll roll ours to approximately 1/4 inch thickness. One night, my boyfriend brought a work friend home to our apartment. That guy. He looked at me in the strangest way. Started asking me questions. You ever been to a field party in Bob Cajun? You know a guy named Beep? You know anyone from the private school in Lakefield? How about Beep? You know, everyone calls him Beep. No, eh? Thought you were someone else. He recognized me. I didn't recognize him, but he recognized me. Oh God. He was in my living room. He knew where I lived. I went to the police station. Told him about the guy in my living room. I reopened the investigation. Old friends started calling from high school, saying they'd been questioned by the police. I thought I saw that guy from my living room in a truck outside my apartment. Then outside my work, I was pretty sure I saw the same truck outside my school. I didn't catch a license plate. It was driving away. Maybe I was just being paranoid. One day at work, this other guy just came into the restaurant, just seated himself. I was bringing food to another table. Camera phones had just been invented, flip phones, and they used to make a camera sound every time they took a picture. I looked over and this guy had his phone under the table and was taking pictures of me. Then he just got up and left. An old friend called. Listen, buddy, I don't want to sound dramatic or anything, but, well, there's been a lot of buzz going around town since the cops have been asking about you, and, well, you know that fucking douchebag, Beep? Well, I guess he's been running drugs for the last few years. He's pretty well connected with the Hells Angels. Anyway, apparently he's telling everyone you're some psycho bitch lying to the cops, and word on the street is they're saying if you don't shut your mouth, they'll shut it for you. Oh my God. He knew where I lived, knew where I worked, knew where I went to school. I moved. I quit my job. I dropped out of university. I relapsed. I chopped off all my hair. I went east. I stayed with a friend in Montreal. I went on a family vacation to New Brunswick. I moved back home. I got a new place to stay. I got a new job. I quit hard drugs. As far as Beep was concerned, I had disappeared. I met a guy, a good guy. We fell in love. We built a life together, worked our asses off, saved up, bought a house together. I went back to university. I befriended a merry band of thespians, and I started doing theater again. I started winning academic awards again. I graduated university on the dean's list. I got a cat. Things were finally looking up. I had somehow clawed my way out of the deepest, darkest depths of hell. I was broken-mended. I felt like I had finally found my happily ever after. The dough. We have to cut and roll our dough and get it baking so it has enough time to cool. We'll bake it at I don't know how many degrees until it comes out light golden brown. But I knew something was wrong. Or my cat did, at least. For months, my cat had been sniffing, and nudging, and kneading at my right breast, same spot, every time. Happy birthday to me. 31. Who would have thought I'd live to see 31? Worked at the pub. Got up and sang a tune. Friends stopped by, brought flowers. Great shift. Got off in time for last call at my partner's work. Had a few pints. Had a few laughs. A tame birthday. Mature. Home time. Bra comes off. Itchy. Again, why is my boob so itchy lately? That's not supposed to be there. Is it? Never mind. Hard. Sharp. Foreign. Lump. Hey, Doc, I say to my boyfriend, can I get a consult? Feel my tit. He laughs, cops a feel, turns white. Solemn. He knew. His mom died of breast cancer when he was 17. You have to go to the doctor. I went to the doctor. 2 weeks later, on May 10th, I got the call. It's cancer, said the doctor. Sorry, kid, I don't know what to tell you. Sometimes shit happens. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. On the 14th anniversary of when I was gang raped. The same day. Same fucking day. 2 weeks after my 17th birthday, I was brutalized and tossed in a ditch like a piece of garbage. And 14 years later, to the day, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, I know my therapist said that magical thinking is a sign of insanity, but come on! The same fucking day! My breasts? It had to be my breasts? Oh, first the pregnancy, now my breasts, they're inside of me, they're still fucking inside of me! Magical thinking's a sign of insanity. But there's no history of cancer in my family. I'm the first. The doctor, he laughed, he rolled his eyes, he said, women your age don't get breast cancer. Evidently cursed women do. I can't even cross the street without getting hit by a car. Of course I'd get cancer at 31. Fuck, who am I kidding? It's all my fault. It's all my fucking fault. I drink, I smoke, I abused my body for years. It's all my fucking fault. Fuck! After Agatha was stretched on the rack, she refused Quinty Annis again. Angered by her defiance, he had her torturers twist and then tear off her breasts with pincers. Even in her state of physical degradation, Agatha supported her beliefs. She was a good Christian woman. Agatha was the perfect victim! Nobody knows what causes breast cancer. The dominant neoliberal notion that cancer is caused by lifestyle risk factors obscures the very real environmental factors that contribute to disease. It positions the cancer patient as morally responsible for the cause of her illness, or his. Trans and cis men get breast cancer too. It positions the patient as blameworthy. We all know that drinking and smoking are lifestyle risk factors for breast cancer. Other risk factors include having breasts or not, having babies when you're too young, having babies when you're too old, being overweight, being underweight, having babies at the right age but not breastfeeding them. We don't know what causes breast cancer, but we're pretty sure it's caused by being a bad woman. It all happened so fast. My friend, my dear friend, a beautiful, powerful two-spirit person, gifted me medicine and offered to take me to ceremony. All I had to do was ask. But I didn't feel worthy of such a gift. It's not my medicine, so I didn't ask. Another friend started an online fundraiser for me. I needed the money. Bartenders/artists certainly don't get sick time or benefits, and the support was morale boosting, touching. It really was. The fundraising was trending nationally. It had reached its goal in less than 24 hours. I remember feeling like George Bailey at the end of It's a Wonderful Life when his whole community comes together to support him. And it made me very uncomfortable. Once again, my tragedy was the talk of the town. Once again, my trauma was in every local newspaper. Once again, my story, my narrative was completely out of my control. I asked the friend to stop any further fundraising. Next thing I knew, 2 more in-person fundraisers had been scheduled and the online fundraising goal had been increased. And the social media posts about my condition kept coming. My family and I were blocked from seeing any of them. And the person in question further muscled their way into my life. They even lied and said they were related to me and showed up at my hospital room after my bilateral mastectomy. There I was, bleeding so profusely the nurses had to change my gown and bed sheets every 15 minutes. There were complications, writhing in pain, both physical and existential. Maybe my family and I should have told the person to go fuck themselves, but we were just trying to be nice. Turns out, my so-called friend had been stealing large sums of cancer money. Turns out, the relentless fundraising had little to do with my well-being. Agatha, mutilated, bleeding, breasts torn from her chest. Agatha, the perfect victim. Agatha was tossed in her prison cell once more. There, an old man visited her in the night. He revealed himself to be the Apostle Peter, sent by Christ himself to heal her. Saint Peter miraculously restored Agatha's breasts and hymen. He started a GoFundMe campaign, and he magically disappeared into the night. Agatha was freed from imperfection. Saint Peter made her a proper Christian woman again. Agatha was perfect again. Now that our Italian dough has baked and cooled, it's ready to be filled with our cannoli cream. Grab a piping bag and fill it with the cream. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I received a giant stack of pink pamphlets about makeup tips, wigs, and breast reconstruction. There was very little literature about actual cancer. Rather, the bulk of it seemed to be about concealing the signs of cancer, cosmetically. I didn't have much time for decision making. It was a whirlwind of tests, appointments, and I was quite busy being defrauded by my GoFundMe benefactor. I wasn't sure if I wanted reconstructive surgery, but it was my first oncologist who helped me make up my mind. "You're young and good-looking," he said. "How can you expect to lead a normal, well-adjusted life without breasts?" Mm-hmm. Watch me. I have nothing against breast reconstruction or the many women who undergo that procedure. It's their choice. It's a valid choice. But I have everything against a medical system that denies women any other choice. Squeeze your cannoli cream down your piping bag and use it to fill the molds. You're looking for them to be nice and uniform. And be sure to leave some headroom for your sponge cake. Now we'll get these setting in the fridge so they have time to chill. Shh. Slowly, I rebuilt myself, my life, after cancer. I got into graduate school. I started doing theater again. I started doing everything I could to make up for lost time. I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I started going to bed early, I started eating more vegetables, I started doing everything I was supposed to do to take care of my health. Things were finally looking up. Felt like I had clawed my way out of the deepest, darkest depths of hell. Again, I was broken mended. Again, I had finally found my happily ever after. Again. The cakes. We'll take our cakes and we'll cut them with, oh, that's okay, just pick it up. That's okay, we can recuperate. We'll cut our cakes and get them ready to go in our molds. Just like this. I desperately wanted to get back to normal after my cancer, but unfortunately getting back to normal for me meant getting back to self-destruction, to drinking and smoking and feeling like the biggest piece of shit failure every time I did. To overextending myself, to working to the point of burnout, to exhaustion. I've never half-assed anything in my life. I even found new and creative ways to hurt myself, to punish myself, like occasionally skipping my cancer meds to give myself anxiety about my cancer coming back. Agatha would take her meds. She would have been the perfect cancer patient. Agatha was the perfect victim. The marzipan. So we'll take our marzipan, and our marzipan, and we'll just roll it flat. We'll roll your dough. Oh, the cakes, but we have to finish cutting the cakes first. So we'll roll the marzipan and cut the cakes. But I knew something was wrong. My life's never good, not for too long at least. There's always some calamity ready to strike me down, ready to make me rebuild my life, myself, all over again. I knew it. The molds. We'll get our molds and we'll just invert them onto the table. Just pop those little titties, just pop them right out, and they're ready, and we'll cover it up with the marzipan. And the cakes, oh, jeez, the cakes. But I knew it, I knew something was wrong. There are no fairy godmothers, there are no magic wands. It came back. I got cancer. Again. All my survival stats went down. My chances of developing metastatic disease increased. Recurrence. My hope died. Sequela. Sequela is a pathological condition derived from a previous illness, therapy, injury, or other trauma. It is derived from the Latin word meaning sequel. It felt as though my rapist had harbored those 14 long years festering away inside of my breasts. What more could they take from me? My baby? I can't even have babies anymore. Maybe she wouldn't have been like his father. Maybe she would have been like me. Or Agatha. My breasts. They took my breasts. My beautiful breasts, denied the chance to nurse again. Oh, what more can I sacrifice? If I keep disappearing, there'll be nothing left of me. Oh, they're still inside of me. They're inside of me. They're inside of me. Get out! Get out! Get out! Magical thinking is a sign of insanity. Just keep baking. Just keep baking. Just pick up the pizzas. Just pick it up. Pick it up. If you drop it, it's okay. Just pick it up. Just cover it. Just cover it. Just cover it up. Cover it up with the Mars bench. Just cover it up. Just cover it up. Just keep baking. Just keep baking. Just pop those little titties. Sequela. Cancer is a potential sequela of post-traumatic stress disorder. Biological mechanisms. Impairment of immune system function, alterations to DNA repair, stress-related hormones, tumor growth. I did, after all, abuse my body for the better part of a decade, relentlessly punishing myself, blaming myself, trying to exterminate myself, recklessly living my life like a game of Russian roulette, secretly hoping that each day would be my last. How ironic that somebody who spent most of their life contemplating suicide would suddenly want to live. How ironic that somebody who supposedly suddenly wanted to live would do very little to make that happen. Fuck. It's all my fault. It's all my fucking fault. I did this to myself. I abused my body. I got a second chance and I blew it. I fucking blew it. It's all my fucking fault. Just keep baking. Just cover it up. Just cover it. The Mars bed. Pick it up. Pick up the piece. Just keep baking. And just pick it up. Sequela. Behavioral mechanisms. Stress precipitates behaviors that are lifestyle risk factors for cancer. Drinking, alcohol misuse, smoking, drug misuse. It's all connected. All of it. It all. The stalker, the rape, the cancer, the violence, the semblance, the eternal return, the sum of every instant. I'm cursed! I'm fucking cursed! Magical thing is a sign of insanity. I can't stop going over all of it. It all. All of it. It all. I can't stop going over all of it. It all. All of it. All of it. It all. All of it. I can't stop going over all of it. It all. All of it. It all. Fuck! I'm tired. I'm so fucking tired. I'm tired of being strong. sitting with the bad thoughts, swimming, stewing, submerge. Epiphany. Emerge. I deserve a healthy life. Catalyst. I deserve a happy life. Decision. I'm done hating myself, done punishing myself. It's time to live. Time to heal. It's time to break the curse. The ask. First time ever, ask for help. First time ever, feel worthy of help. The veil begins to lift. I am opening the gift, the medicine, ceremony. Love. After my first cancer diagnosis, my friend, my dear friend, a beautiful, powerful two-spirit person, gifted me medicine and offered to take me to ceremony. All I had to do was ask. But I wasn't ready then. I didn't feel worthy of such a gift, so I didn't ask. After my second cancer, I was ready to ask, to beg. I was ready to meet the medicine in the middle. And I did. And my beautiful, powerful friend dropped everything, their wonderful full life, their deep and sacred grief. My friend showed up for me because I showed up for myself. I've been wondering how to tell this part of the story and how much of it to tell. So much of my life falls into the stranger than fiction category. And I know, I'm just a little white girl. How much worse things would have been for my BIPOC and trans friends. I asked my friend if telling this part of the story was appropriate. And they said, you can talk about your experiences. And the elders want people to know that the medicine is real and it works. And so, fresh surgical incisions and all, my friend and I were off to Seattle, to stolen Salish land. There, I met a woman and two men, knowledge keepers, medicine people. Prayers up, they pray, I pray. You have to meet the medicine in the middle. We pray. They bring me to the other side, I make contact. You have to meet the medicine in the middle. I'm in the woods. I know these woods. Birch, cedar, pine, home. I love these woods. A tree. A giant, ancient tree. I touch its trunk. A door appears. Opens. I step through, inside. There's somebody waiting. It's her. It's me. It's little me. Little 10 to 12-year-old me. We hug, cry tears of joy, relief. With help, I broke the curse. Whatever it was that relentlessly tried to kill me again and again and again, whatever beast had its claws in me all those years, released me from its clutches. I felt it. It happened the moment I let myself back in. And of all the versions of myself I could have found, I wasn't expecting to find her. I thought I'd find that broken, battered girl in the ditch. I thought I'd rescue her. But I found a confident, smart, funny little girl. And she rescued me. No, we rescued each other. 'Cause I helped that little girl who thought she had to be perfect. I quit drinking. I quit smoking. I quit nihilism. I'm learning how to be in my own body, how to call myself back, how to heal. I'm learning to live the good life. Titty Cakes. 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 Sacrificed, the sacred.